We're now being joined by Malaka Parker of the Democratic National Alliance, albeit late. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and engaging with us on the major issues happening here in Antigua and Barbuda, especially that of vaccines and mandating tests for those who are unvaccinated. Good morning.
Good morning, Kadeem. And certainly good morning to all your listeners, as diverse and expansive as they are.
No, definitely a lot to speak about this morning, and certainly if we don't get through it, we'll extend the invitation for tomorrow as well. We have seen several unions already come out against this plan of the government to have unvaccinated persons pay bi-monthly or every 2 weeks, having to pay for COVID-19 tests. What does the DNA make of this, and what's your opinion of this entire issue?
Yeah, well, you would know that the DNA would have issued a press release last week when this whole saga broke. I wish to say that I can even draw from my background as a former president of a major trade union in this country and state that the position that the unions have assumed have not surprised us in the DNA. And so in our release, we made it clear that we stand with the workers on this issue, that we do not believe that mandating testing every 2 weeks is in fact just, fair, that it is something that is manageable by a great majority of public sector workers in particular. And whilst we did not go into the details, there are certainly real substantive issues around how this process would even be managed. Okay, and so apart from the testing, the whole concept of mandating vaccination by imposing these types of policies, the DNA clearly thinks that this is unlawful. And the government and some private sector employers, although we appreciate the need to mitigate the potential impact of COVID-19 virus, we certainly do not accept that it has to be done in this manner and at the detriment of our values as a society.
Now, looking at this this occurrence, and I think listening to the chief of staff who engaged with Darren Matthew Ward yesterday, and again with me last week, he defended the government's position on this and said basically they have done all they could in order to encourage voluntary vaccinations. Do you think that that is accurate, that the government did all it could in order to get as people voluntarily vaccinated, and now this is the last resort?
No, I do not share that view individually, and the DNA does not share that view. Kadeem, this COVID-19 pandemic is a very complex crisis that we're faced with. None of us can say different. But I think that what has really bedeviled the people of Antigua and Barbuda is indeed the leadership crisis that we have also had to confront. And so from the very beginning, the DNA had stated that the emphasis needed to be on a clear education campaign that is consistent and sustained and that is multidimensional in its application and its messages, so that it is percolating downwards. Then we have called for continuous engagement and consultation in this process. We have also sounded our voice in objection to an overt political tone that has guided the government's hand in this process. We have made recommendations for a multi-diverse advisory council or a management team to be set up to be the face of this COVID-19 crisis here in Antigua and Barbuda. And in that way, it could marshal the sort of trust and confidence, right, in that body that the government and a minister may not be able to do. And certainly civil society and the public in general have not been engaged in a manner that would produce the sort of, conversion or acceptance or agreement that the uptake of the vaccine right? It's everybody's business. Okay, so the government is far, I think, from doing what is necessary, and we don't have to look far. I have been paying very close attention to what is happening in other countries, and in some of the countries of the region where the uptake of the vaccine has been greater, their approach has been different. In Barbados, in particular, where they have had an advisory council and a management committee for the COVID-19 crisis, their uptake is considerably more. Okay, so we do not accept that all has been done. Contrarily, we believe that the continuous top-down approach of the government, the scorched earth approach, the big stick approach to dealing with the citizens of Antigua and Barbuda is what the government has reflexively drawn for, and it has not worked. In fact, it has been counterintuitive to the agenda.
Now, looking at where we are right now, some might say the horse has already bolted. We're already at a place where many individuals mistrust vaccines, and it will take a lot to convince them otherwise. What would the DNA do? I mean, if you're saying that this approach is not necessarily the best approach, what would the DNA do differently if they were placed in this position?
Kadeem, quite simply, and allow me to confront one of the assumptions you made in that statement, that people are against the vaccines. The DNA does not share that view. We understand and appreciate that vaccine hesitancy is based on a number of complex rationale. And quite frankly, it is that simplistic approach to engaging the public, or really to speaking at the public, that is causing this issue. The fact that everyone that has some level of vaccine hesitancy or questions are anti-vaxxers or conspiracy theorists, or they are against the vaccine, that is not what our experience has taught us. And so quite simply, we do not think that all is lost. We appreciate that we are a long way, right, on the process, but there is never, it's never too late for engagement and consultation. Already, we're seeing the unions having to do that. And, we must say as well that, and remind the public, that the government at one time was actually meeting with and engaging the unions. In fact, this new position of the government is a total unilateral about-face turn that the government would have made, right? Because not too long ago, the declaration and the proclamation of the government was that they would not be mandating vaccines. And the Prime Minister himself would have stated that the vaccines are a personal choice. So this about-face turn that they have done so unilaterally, and that is indeed the problem, right? Well, so the DNA will certainly understand and appreciate the various stakeholder interests in this thing, and we will engage so that there is greater inclusion, cooperation, and understanding, appreciation, right, for the three-dimensional issues that are confronting our society. And we ought not to take it for granted that everyone is in the same place at the same time. That's certainly not how societies advance and progress.
Senator Parker.
And how they deal with the crisis.
Most definitely. I know there will be more coming out of this, especially given the unions will be making their statements later this morning. So I look forward to engaging with you again. Definitely we didn't touch on all that we should have this morning. So look forward to engaging with you on this very issue tomorrow, provided time permits. Thank you so much. And
visit us online at dnaab.com to learn more.